Hello everybody, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Dave, and today I'm going to be making Pa's green chili. It's a really simple recipe. If you're new to cooking, if you're a novice cooker, this is a perfect recipe for you. It uses mostly store-bought ingredients, so it's really simple to make. And even if you're an expert cook and you don't have a lot of time on your hands, this is a good recipe for you too. So come on, I'll show you how to make it. This recipe uses a crock pot to do the cooking, and as you can see, I have one ready to go. If you have a liner that you can use to put on the crock pot, I highly recommend using a liner. It makes cleaning up at the end much easier, so I highly recommend doing that. All right, the first ingredient is an onion. Just get either medium or large size onion. I'm going to go ahead and get it chopped. And we're going to do a rough chop on this onion. We're not going to do any fine dicing or anything like that. Nothing fancy. First, I'm going to peel the onion this way. And then what I normally do is I just make slits on the onion like this, going lengthwise, and then just do a rough cut of big chunks, because while you're cooking the crock pot, the onion's gonna break down, and most of it's gonna disappear. There'll be some left, but there's no point in dicing it all up nice and neat, because the cooking's gonna break down the onion anyway. All right, once the onion's diced up, we'll throw that into the crock pot. So there's the onions in the crock pot. And right, the next ingredient is the beef. I'm using a chuck roast. I think this is just under 2 pounds. So you want to get like a between a 2.5 pound chuck roast. And as you can see on this piece of chuck roast, there's quite a bit of fat on the chuck roast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim and get a lot of the fat out. All right, so after I trim the fat, the next thing I'm going to do is actually cut these into smaller chunks, maybe about half an inch or so, half-an-inch chunks, because this is going to cook down as we put it in the crock pot. It's going to cook down quite a bit, so it won't be as big once it's done. But I do want to cut these up a little bit so it has a little bit of texture. Oh, a little bit of fat there. So about this recipe, it's called Pa's green chili. And Pa is Donny Bridges. He is my father-in-law, and he's lovingly known from or to his grandkids as Pa. And he gave me this recipe, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago. And it's delicious. And over the years, I've kind of tweaked it a little bit here and there. But the recipe is mostly from him, so this is dedicated to you, Pa. Hope I'm making you proud. Here's a picture of Pa and Nana. So Pa, thanks for the recipe. So here I have a pan. I'm putting it onto medium-high heat, and add a little bit of oil. You don't need too much. I'm going to spread that oil around the pan as it's heating up. And with the amount of meat that I have, it's just too much for one batch. I'm going to make 2 batches. That way I don't overcrowd the pan. And all I'm really doing here is just getting a nice browning on as many sides of the meat as possible. So we're not actually cooking the beef here. We're actually just browning it to get a little bit of flavor from the Maillard reaction. So this process here takes about a couple of minutes. I want to just brown one side for about a minute, and then flip the meat over and let it brown on the other side for another minute. This is what you want, that browning that's on that meat there. Again, we're not totally cooking this meat. We're going to brown it, and then next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pour it right into the crock pot. And there's the meat in the crock pot. That's just the first batch. We'll do the same for the second batch. Here's the second batch of the meat going into the crock pot. Spread out a little bit into the crock pot. All right, the next step is to add the seasoning. So for the seasoning, I have 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of granulated onion, or 2 teaspoons of salt, and some ground pepper, about a teaspoon, and give that a good mix. Then I sprinkle the seasoning all over the meat. I do about 2/3 of seasonings. I leave about 1/3 for a step later on in the recipe. Here are the next 2 items to go into the crock pot. A jar of green salsa, and you can use any brand you want. This is a 15-ounce jar of roasted salsa verde. And the secret ingredient that Paul gave me is the green chili enchilada sauce. So that's a 10-ounce can of green chili enchilada sauce, and that's all you need. Don't buy the big can. The 10-ounce can is plenty. And we'll get that into the crock pot. Then finally, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. You can use either light brown sugar or dark brown sugar. And what that does is it'll balance out the tartness of the green chili sauces that's in there. Give it a little mix, not too much. And now we're ready to put on the cover. Set the setting on the crock pot to low, and now it's going to cook in the crock pot for at least 6 hours. So at this point, you don't want to touch the crock pot. Don't open the lid. Let it do its thing, and I'll see you in about 6-7 hours for the next step.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, so it's been a couple of seconds for you, but for me, it's been 7 hours, and this green chili has been cooking that time, and basically it's done. The beef is nice and tender in there, but we have one more step to take, and that's making the ground beef mixture. And so let me start showing you how to do that. So in the same skillet I used earlier to brown the chuck roast, I'm going to use the skillet to brown the ground beef. Put a little oil in there and let the oil heat up a little bit. Let's spread the oil around. And I have 1 pound of ground beef that I'm going to brown up. So no shortage of meat in this green chili recipe. So the ground beef I'm using is an 85-15 lean to fat ratio. And so when we're browning, it's going to render off some of the fat. And that's the reason why I'm not adding any seasonings for now. I'm going to first brown the meat first, then drain the fat, and then I'll add the seasoning. Otherwise, if you put the seasoning on now, it'll just mix in with the fat, and then when you drain the fat, most of the seasoning is lost through the fat. Alright, so the ground beef is done. I'm going to turn off the heat, and I'm going to drain the fat by tipping the pan, and letting the fat drain down to one end, and I'll just scoop out the liquid into a bowl. and that way I take most of the fat and the juices away from the skillet. All right, so most of the liquid's removed, and there's just a tiny little bit left, and that's not going to be a bad thing to have in there. All right, now it's time to add the remainder of the seasoning that we had earlier when we cooked the chuck roast, or add it to the ground beef here and just mix it in. Now I have 2 jalapenos I'm going to dice up, and really you can make this recipe as hot and spicy as you want, or none at all. If you want it hot and spicy, then you want to leave the seeds with the jalapeno. I'm going to dice one with the seeds and one without, but this just adds a little bit more flavor to the green chili and color as well. This one I'm going to remove the seeds, so we'll only have the meat of the jalapeno. That way it's not too spicy, but still adds the flavor. We'll add the jalapenos to the ground beef mixture. And then the last ingredient is going to be some green chili. I have 2 cans, 2 7-ounce cans of fire roasted diced green chilies. And again, you can use any brand you like. Now we add the green chilies. And this part of making the ground beef mixture can be done either at the beginning or in the middle or at the end like I am now. It can be done anytime. You just don't want to add the mixture to the green chili until the very end. All right, so let's open the crock pot, see how it looks here. Woo! And the kitchen, if you guys were here right now, the aroma that's this green chili is giving off is just really wonderful. So the next step is to add the ground beef mixture into the crock pot. All right, so we have one more step, and that is to make the do a cornstarch slurry to make it a little bit thicker. All right, so the cornstarch slurry is pretty easy to do. It's basically, I just put about a tablespoon of cornstarch into a little bowl, add some water, stir it up. That way, if you just put the cornstarch in by itself into the green chili, they'll just chunk up and have little white chunks everywhere. But by making a slurry like this, it'll incorporate into the liquid much better. Yeah, I like mine a little thicker, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the cornstarch slurry. All right, made a little bit more slurry. I'm going to add that in there, and then just stir it up here. Yeah, I can see that's starting to thicken up. All right, it's time to try this green chili out. I'm going to ladle some into this bowl here. All right, let's give this a try. Get a little bit of jalapeno in there as well. Oh yeah, that's really good. And the jalapeno, just the right spice. So that's it. That's Paul's green chili. Really simple recipe to make. As you can see, the crock pot did most of the work for you. There's a little bit of cooking in the skillet with browning the ground beef and the chuck roast, but other than that, very simple recipe. You can do it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and while you're there, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and put a comment as far as whether or not you tried this recipe and if you liked it, whether or not you use a different protein. You can use pork or chicken. Let me know whether or not that worked out for you. All right, thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one. Bye.